Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Level Up English podcast, the place to level up and improve your English. Hopefully, you agree. And whether you're going to work right now, you're going for a walk in the park, you're doing some cleaning at home, maybe, or whatever else you're doing, welcome. Hope you are ready to learn and maybe, just maybe, enjoy the episode as well. I feel like I have to mention, I know most of you listen to the audio version, but if you are watching the YouTube version, hello to you. If you don't know, we do have a YouTube version as well. Go to YouTube and type in Level Up English Podcast. You can find it there if you, for some reason, want to see me talking as well. But I feel like I should mention to those of you who are watching that I do have a little bit of an eye infection today. So I would say this is maybe the only thing, the literally only thing that I don't like about living in Bangkok. Maybe there's a couple more, but for the most part, I love living here. It's really amazing. But the one thing I hate is the pollution. It's not the worst in the world, but sometimes it can get quite bad to the point where it's really not healthy to be outside. It's, most days it's fine, but there's maybe one day every now and then when it's better to stay inside if you care about your health. And I don't really know if it's connected, but I've noticed since coming here, my eyes have been a lot more red. I've got dark circles beneath them. And I think this is the third eye infection that I've had in the last 8 months. So I have to guess it's going to be connected to the pollution. I don't know what else it would be, but yeah, this eye is a little bit kind of less open than the other eye, and it feels kind of like I've been punched in the face today. Yeah, on the camera now I can see it's looking a bit strange, but with some eye drops, I think it should be sorted out soon, hopefully. Let's hope. But anyway, that doesn't affect my ability to record, so I'm here recording another episode. This is episode 266. So many behind us now. So many episodes under my belt. There's a good expression. If you've got something under your belt, it means you have done something in the past. You have successfully succeeded. That's a weird phrase. You have successfully done a number of things in the past. So you could say, I have 5 episodes of my TV show under my belt. That means I have successfully done 5 episodes. It's like those are ticked off and they're done, they're completed. Maybe you are taking English classes and you have 10 classes under your belt. It's a really good way to show your experience with something. Under your belt. Weird expression. But anyway, I want to give a quick shout out to the new members recently. I will come back to you at the end today, but thank you if you have recently become a member. One thing that I am bringing back are the private podcast episodes. So I, at the moment, have over 100 private podcast episodes. These are episodes that I record audio, usually audio only, episodes for the members. So it's just usually me talking quite openly, casually. And one big thing as well is that I do not make any edits. If I have to kind of cough. I don't know why you want to hear me coughing, or I make a weird mistake or something goes wrong. I keep it all in the episodes. So you get to see the unfiltered, natural way of speaking. And yeah, I try my best to speak naturally and not to change my speaking style for the podcast. So some people like that. I paused it for a while, but I am going to continue making them. Not on a weekly basis, but when I have some free time, I'm going to add new episodes. And I think my most recent episode was just me talking about some things that I found quite meaningful recently. Some quotes, some things that I read, and how that relates to life. I quite enjoyed that one. But anyway, if you want to see or listen to the private podcast or any other content like group classes, podcast transcripts, and many more courses, you can become a member at levelupenglish.school. If you go to the website or click the link in the podcast description, you will find a members button, a glowing members button at the top of the page, which will take you to a place where you can read more about it. So hopefully that will be interesting to some of you. But anyway, let's talk about what I want to talk about today. So I think this might be the last one in the series. I have done a little series on connected speech. So in the past, in the last few weeks, we did an episode on linking, which I believe is also known as catenation. I've never heard it pronounced before, actually, but I think that's how you say it, catenation. Linking, where words kind of link together. The example I gave before was not at all. Not at all. When you want to say not at all. We did one called elision recently, where a sound or syllable is omitted, it's taken away when speaking. So rather than saying walked to work, we would say walk to work. So that t sound at the end of walked disappears. That's a really common feature of connected speech, of pronunciation in English. And today, I think this will be the last one because I think there were 3 big ones here. And this is assimilation. Assimilation. So, yeah, I guess I don't want to give you should I give you a preview now? I guess I could. Okay, I'll give you one. So basically, assimilation is where we change the sound of a letter for easier pronunciation. Because sometimes there's certain sounds or letters that come together in a word or a sentence that are quite difficult to pronounce, no matter if you're a native speaker or a learner. It's just some sounds are quite difficult. I think especially this happens when, basically different sounds are made with different parts of the mouth. Maybe I'll put a diagram on the screen here for you YouTube watchers. But some sounds are made right at the back of the mouth, in the throat. Some sounds like the s, like the s, are made at the front of the mouth with the tongue and the teeth. And I think it's quite difficult when a sound is at the back and then you have to quickly move to the front. It's quite challenging. So when this happens, we tend to get lazy and replace it with an easier sound. One example is handbag. Handbag. So here we've got hand, like duh. So duh is at the front, and bag. These are both at the front, actually. I'm thinking in real time, but I think it's still quite difficult to get from those sounds, like handbag. Because you have to really quickly move your lips, like handbag. And it's very difficult to say without pausing a little bit, like handbag, handbag. It's quite challenging. It's a little bit. So anyway, what we do when we say it naturally or quickly, we would often say handbag. Oh, you have a nice handbag over there. So actually it sounds quite weird if you think about it, but we are saying ham bag, like m for Michael. And the reason is because I guess that D, the duh in hand, is getting omitted completely. And then the N, is a very similar sound to m. And if you think about the mouth position, the m is also similar to b. M, b. The mouth position is very similar, especially in the lips. So it's very easy to go from handbag. It flows much more easily than handbag. Handbag. It's just easier to say quickly. So there's one really common example of assimilation. Not an important word, but that's the technical term for today. So I think we'll go through some examples today. And just to make it interesting, I'm going to be answering some questions using examples of assimilation. So it's not just going to be me giving examples. I'm going to be giving you a little bit of a monologue, a speech with each one. So I actually asked my good friend ChatGPT to write me some questions because I cannot ask you because I don't know if I would hear your replies or maybe you wouldn't reply to my email very quickly. So I spoke to ChatGPT and he gave me some good questions, including that include these examples of assimilation. So here's one example. A really common one is Would you? Would you? We often include j, like a J sound here. This is really common. I hear it all the time in British English. So would you becomes would you. Would you. So Jew. Jew, like the religion, right? Jew, a Jewish person. Would you, right? So you might learn it in a textbook. Would you like to go out? That could be a good phrase, but naturally, we would never say that. We would say, would you like to go out? So you can practice that yourself. Would you like to go out? You also notice that you becomes y. It's like a schwa sound. So the example question I've got here is, if you could teleport anywhere right now, would you choose a bustling metropolis or a serene countryside? This is the phrasing that ChatGPT used, so we can also learn some words. A bustling means very busy, energetic, active. Metropolis means a city, a big city. So a busy city, a bustling metropolis, or serene, that means peaceful and serene countryside. I mean, this is quite easy for me. I would choose a serene countryside environment. And it's just simply because I already live in a bustling metropolis, so I don't get to go to the countryside very often, and I think it would be a nice change. So I would go somewhere. I'd love to go back just to England, to go sit in a field surrounded by sheep and just enjoy that serene atmosphere. But how about you? So I can ask you the question, and remember to try to practice this phrase as well. Would you? So if you could teleport somewhere, where would you go? Where would you go? Where would you go? Maybe you could let me know in the comments in response to this episode. That would be good. I kind of assumed that you know, but actually maybe you don't. I forgot to say teleport means to instantly move to another place. It's kind of like magic. Port is about transport. It's about moving, I suppose. Like port is like a place, right? So you're moving from place to place. Tele means from far away. Maybe port means door. Let me check what port means. We don't want to get it wrong. So teleport, these both come from Latin. And, oh, that's interesting. So port means carry, to carry. That's really good to know. So many examples: import, export, deport, report. They're all kind of related to carry in some way. So tele means far away, like telephone, call from far away. Television, see from far away. Teleport, you're carried from far away. It's like you're moved from far away. So that's interesting to know. So yeah, anyway, let me know your answers. Hey, it's Michael. If you're enjoying the Level Up English podcast and want to continue unlocking the power of effective communication, especially in a second language, then I recommend checking out Think Fast, Talk Smart. This award-winning show is produced by the Stanford Graduate School of Business and is the #1 career podcast in over 95 countries. Each week, host and Stanford lecturer Matt Abrahams sits down with experts to discuss the best tips to hone and develop your communication skills. From making small talk that leaves a big impression to keeping your nerves in check while speaking in front of crowds. There's a reason this show has over 42 million downloads and counting. You'll hear from pros like neuroscientist Andrew Huberman on how to manage speaking anxiety, speech writer and best-selling author Dan Pink on how to take risks in your communication, and psychologist Kelly McGonigal on how to harness nervous energy to fuel powerful presentations. All that and so much more is available on Think Fast, Talk Smart. So Come on, what are you waiting for? Listen every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. And also tell them I sent you. Now back to the show. Here's another one. Let's see how easy these are to answer. So I'm going to ask the question to myself and see if you can hear the example of assimilation in this one. Don't you find it exhilarating to chase after your dreams, even if they seem out of reach? A little yes or no question here, but the example of assimilation was don't you. It's very common with these you words. So rather than don't you, that t and the y changes to a ch. So listen to this fast one. Don't you. Don't you. You will hear this all the time in music as well. Listen to songs where they say don't you, and you'll hear that all the time. So don't you, don't you. So that ch comes from nowhere here. Really common. Makes you sound very natural. Exhilarating is a little bit like exciting. Exciting. Oh, it's so exhilarating. It's so exciting. It's a more advanced word. So, don't you find it exhilarating to chase after your dreams, even if they seem out of reach? I think yes, right? I think who would say no, right? Like I personally think it's really important to have big dreams in life. And I personally feel like I've learnt the value of having big dreams that maybe are unreachable. Maybe you can't reach them, because in my life I've had many dreams, like we all have, and I've been lucky enough to reach some of my dreams. Like a really common one is I dreamt of going to Japan. When I was 21 years old, I went to Japan, and when I achieved my dream, I had this really weird empty feeling after that. And I've also heard it's the same feeling that a lot of Olympic medalists get. After they win the gold medal at the Olympics, they feel a little bit empty because they've achieved their dream. First of all, it's maybe not as good as they expected, because I feel like this is the lesson here. I feel like the pursuit of a dream, pursuit means chasing a dream, can often be more rewarding than achieving it. Or at least it lasts longer. You know, achieving a dream is just like a few seconds and then you've done it. And then the good feeling slowly fades away. And I think if we learn to enjoy the pursuit of a dream, the chase of a dream, that can make life more enjoyable. So that's kind of my mindset. I try to make chasing my dreams enjoyable. Right? I try to remind myself that when I achieve my dreams, it will not feel as good as I expect. Which, I don't know, maybe that sounds a little bit depressing, but I guess the idea here is to enjoy the moment. And the act of chasing a dream can be really fun. So I totally agree with this. I think chasing a dream can be exhilarating, and that feeling of improving and getting closer is really exciting for me. Anyway, let's do a couple more now. So, yeah, we had would you, don't you? Actually, this one is not one from ChatGPT, because their question is not very interesting. But let me make my own question for handbag. So we mentioned this one already. Handbag becomes handbag. If you could take one small handbag with you on a small island for 1 week, what would you put inside the handbag? Let's say you're going to the Maldives, and it's a very small island, but you will not have anything to do for the entire week, and you cannot leave the island, or there's nothing you have. You need to have one small handbag. So I think I would take some things to have fun and maybe switch off from technology. So that could be like a ball, or like an inflatable ball, like a football, or something to play around with on the beach to keep me active, keep me having fun. That would be nice. It depends if it's a survival situation. If so, I think a knife would be helpful. I don't know, cutting open some coconuts or something, or I don't know, making some shelters. That could be really fun, actually, making a shelter out of some wood. You need to cut some wood up into pieces and make a little camp. Even if you don't need it, that would be fun. Yeah, knives are always fun to play with, right? Safely. Very safely, of course. What else? I guess the Maldives wouldn't be cold, but still a fire would be nice. So maybe I would add a lighter, or not candles, matches, into my handbag. That could make a fun little kind of campfire environment. If I get really bored, you could take a notebook and a pen to write some things down, draw some pictures, I don't know. I'm not being very creative here. But yeah, practically speaking, you might want to take like mosquito repellent spray, spare clothes, rain jackets, that kind of stuff. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Is there something else that you could add into your handbag to make your week on the island more exciting? Have I picked really boring things? But yeah, I guess the idea is you're staying there for a week and you will be picked up after 1 week, hopefully, but you need to make sure you have everything you need for the week. So of course you should probably bring some food and water as well. That would be nice. Anyway, let's do another one here. So, oh, come on, ChatGPT, that's a terrible question. Okay, let's do this one. Listen to the assimilation here. Did you ever have a moment that felt like it was straight out of a movie? Here we have did you. Again, it's very similar to the first one. Would you, did you. So it's where you have the D and the Y. So D, Y becomes J. Kind of makes sense. So did you turns into did you. Did you. Did you ever have a moment that felt like it was straight out of a movie? I haven't prepared for this at all, but I suppose I've had times in the past where I've been like climbing mountains. That feels very dramatic, very movie-like. I'll tell you one thing that just came to my mind right now. It felt kind of magical. It's not exactly movie-like, but it just popped into my head. But I remember one time when I was probably like 15 or 14, I was quite young, and I don't even remember why, but I was just running across a field. I was running to go maybe back to my tent. I believe we were camping at that time. I was running to my tent, and I've never felt this way before, but I just felt like I was being like lifted up. I felt so light and weightless. And I remember feeling kind of pushed along. And I wondered, like, is this what you call a runner's high? If you haven't heard that phrase before, it's like, apparently people that go running a lot, they feel this really, really happy feeling. Euphoria could be a good word. Like a really happy feeling in the brain. It's almost like you're on drugs, because I guess exercise does affect the brain in a similar way. It makes you feel very happy and excited. And maybe exhilarated, right? And I don't know if that was what I was experiencing, but I was just running, and honestly, it was more than running. I was sprinting really fast, and I just felt so light. It felt so easy. I was going super fast, and I don't know if it was a runner's high, or if I was just particularly athletic that day. But is that really movie-like? I don't really know. I don't know. It came to my mind, but maybe that isn't quite like a movie. But I suppose I'm not really an extreme person. I don't do extreme sports, really. I've had a few, I would say, near-death experiences on mountains that I felt like, is this it? You know, am I going to fall? It's been quite scary. But it wouldn't exactly translate well to a movie. It would just be me being scared and shaking and then being fine in the end. You know, I didn't save any babies. I didn't run away from an explosion. So I suppose it's a good thing though, because movies are chaotic. So if you've had a life that doesn't feel like a movie, then maybe that's a good thing. Or maybe you've had some kind of romantic experience, like from a romantic movie or comedy movie. I don't know. I really wish I had a better answer for this. Maybe my life is just so boring, I don't have anything suitable. I suppose there could be some moments where you could make it into like a travel movie where I've had some crazy experiences, you know, meeting people traveling and hopping on to trains that I didn't know where they were going and that kind of stuff. But it's always the kind of thing it's interesting in the moment, but it's not so interesting as a story. I think many of us can relate to that. But anyway, let me know if you have an answer to this question. I would love to hear it. If any of you have lives that could be straight out of a movie. Yeah, did you have that experience? Did you have it? Okay. Let's try... Oh, actually, my list is longer than I expected, but I will skip some of these. A lot of them are quite similar, like did you, don't you, these kind of would you, they're all very similar. Let's try... Okay, this is a good one. This is a little bit different now. So, okay, I think I'll just tell you this one before I give you the answer. So, it's quite common what's this here? So the sentence is live in Berlin. Live in Berlin. Did you hear that? This is quite similar to the handbag one. Handbag. So rather than saying in Berlin, the n changes to a m. Michael M. Live in Berlin. And again, the reason is because it's much easier to go from m to b than n to b. Try to make those sounds in your mouth. Make those sounds yourself, and you'll see just by looking at your lips, it's a very different sound. Like m, b, n. The n is quite different. So naturally, it's easier to say m. So usually this happens where we have a n sound, n for Nigel, and it's followed by a b, p, or m. Because those three sounds are quite similar, especially the b and the p. I know Arabic speakers always confuse them because they're so similar. I think you don't have those two sounds in Arabic that are distinct. But yeah, m is a bit similar too. They're all at the front of the mouth kind of sounds. M, b, m, p. And it's also the lips kind of close and open when you say them. So let's give some examples here. Let me ask you, actually, this is from my own brain now, it's not ChatGPT. If you could live in any place beginning with a B in the world, where would you live? It could be a city or a country or a town. It begins with B. It has to begin with B. Of course, I could say I would live in Bangkok because it's a very lively city with lots to do. I recommend visiting Bangkok if you have some time in the future. So I live in Bangkok, right? We're not saying in Bangkok. We're not pausing in between. It's just one continuous word. In Bangkok, right? So let me know where your B place would be. Try the same now with P and M. Let's try the same. So what P places do we know? There's Paris, Portugal, Paraguay. I can't think of any more right now. I'm sure there's many though. But I would say probably I would live in Portugal. Right? I would live in Portugal because I've been to Portugal once a couple of years ago. It was amazing. People were friendly. And I also heard it's a really nice place to live as a digital nomad. If you're coming to work on your laptop, on your computer, I heard there's a lot of benefits. It's not too expensive. A good, just good place to live. I don't know. I would live in Portugal. And then finally, an M country, or M place, Madrid, Malta, Monaco, Montenegro, Macedonia, many just in Europe on its own. Where else in the world do we have? Malawi in Africa, maybe. Malawi could be interesting. Mali in Africa. Lots of M's in Africa as well. America? Mexico, of course. I forgot about Mexico. I mean, I would love to visit Mexico, but living? I don't know. I've never been there. So, I would maybe say I would love to live in Eastern Europe or the Baltics. No, Balkans. I always get them confused. The Balkans. These are countries on the east of Italy. So I might want to live in Montenegro. I'd love to live in Montenegro. In Montenegro. There, hear that? I've actually never been there. I've been to some surrounding countries, but this is just above Greece and below, like, Serbia, like this area. But I've seen some beautiful pictures and I've heard people really say good things about it. So I'd love to visit soon as well. But living, yeah, maybe I'll give it a go. I'd live there. But okay, so we had a few examples today. Any more? Let's do one more. I don't think I could really make a question out of this, but just to give you an example, another good phrase to show you is 10 kings. There are 10 kings in Europe. Maybe. I don't actually know how many kings are in Europe. But we could say 10 kings. But again, it's 10 kings. The k sound comes from the back. The n is from the front. So to make them both at the back, we often change the n into a ng. This might be like an ng sound, like you have at the word like going ng. So 10 kings would become 10 kings. 10 kings. So the sounds are all at the back of the mouth and it's easier to say. Right? So did ChatGPT... Oh, actually, ChatGPT did give me a question here. 10 kings from history suddenly appear at your doorstep. How do you entertain them for the evening? Weird question, but he did his best. So yeah, practice that phrase, 10 kings, rather than 10 kings. Small difference there, but you'll hear it, you'll feel it in your mouth if you're saying it right. And yeah, I honestly don't know. Like, maybe just get a jester. I mean, if they're kings from history, they probably will be quite entertained by having a TV, because I've never seen it before, right? But yeah, not the best question, so maybe we can just skip over that one. I think I'll leave it there, though. I'll keep this one fairly short. I know 30 minutes isn't super short, but thank you for watching or listening until now. I think I will just say a quick thank you to some of you. I actually want to go to Spotify today. So in the past, I have gone to Spotify and I've looked at some comments. I don't think I have any new Apple podcast reviews recently. So let's just go straight to Spotify and we'll see what we can find. If you do listen on Spotify, I always appreciate your feedback, your comments or whatever. It's always so kind of you. It's really nice. And if you can just give a little thumbs up on your app, that means a lot to me as well. Really appreciate that. And in fact, whatever app you're listening on, if you can give a thumbs up or leave a little review or 5-star rating, it really means the world to me. And it does make a big difference as well. We have one nice one here from episode 264 from Chenpan Panau. And they said, because of your program, my listening and speaking have great progress. Thank you. I appreciate it. Looking forward to your updates. So thank you so much. That is super kind of you. Really appreciate that. And let me just read 2 more from episode 263. We had one from Max, who said, it's a really nice way to learn English from a native person, so you will be able to have conversations with people, which also helps to understand better in academic as well. Thanks for making. So thank you, Max. That's really nice of you to say. And we have a recent one from Xiaofan Jiang, who says, really nice. Claire mentioned in the episode the method of doing everything, not just for language learning, which is atomic habits. Also, the topic of confidence. I really enjoyed this episode. Keep on going. So thank you very much, Xiao Fan, as well. That is very kind of you. So appreciate those comments on Spotify. Also, a quick shout out to some recent members. We've got Henrique, Isabella, Yi Jie, Masanori, Khan, Asma, Shahad, and Juan, right? I've got that Chinese way of thinking, but I guess if it's a Spanish name, Juan, maybe. Fabiana as well. So thank you to you guys, and for everyone else who has become a member. Really appreciate you signing up and joining us at Level Up English. Whew. Let's just finish with a quote now. This quote has an example of assimilation from Byron Katie. Let's say it properly. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? So yeah, do you can become do. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? Very natural to say it that way in British English. So whenever you're having an argument with your partner, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend, think about this quote. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? Very important. Well, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. You have been listening to the Level Up English podcast. If you would like to leave a question to be answered on a future episode, then please go to levelupenglish.school/podcast. That's levelupenglish.school/podcast. And I'll answer your question on a future episode. Thanks for listening.